Alright, so finally, here it is. The big reveal, gameplay reveal of Bethesda's new science fiction RPG. This is a massive RPG, Starfield, which is slated for release. It was supposed to come out this year, but they delayed it to 2023, which angered quite a few people out in the gaming community. But let's see, what they're working on. Let's take a look here. I'm a big sci-fi person, so this is right up my alley. It's a beautiful presentation right there. Now, given that this is a Bethesda game, I'm curious, what engine they're actually using. This looks much better than some of their older games. The graphics look like they've been improved tenfold already from what I'm seeing. I love that UI with the white, the white UI. You don't see that too often in gaming.
The scanners. The abandoned research facility is in this direction.
Survey. Okay, so you can play the game from a first-person perspective, but I'm curious if you can also play it from a third-person perspective, because that's something that Bethesda typically offers in their RPG games. And it seems that I spoke too soon. So you can play it in third person, you can play it in first person. Some interesting designs for the aliens right there. And I like how the aliens just ignored the player, and they just, they're busy doing their own thing. They're not immediately hostile. You don't see that too often in gaming. So I like that small touch. It makes it helps it feel more authentic. That not everything is immediately hostile. Okay, so you have surveying resources. You got the scientific table of elements right here. So it tells you what element it is that you're mining. But what do you actually use these materials for? That's what I'm curious about. I like that when the player jumped, you got that sense of the weightless gravity, in the environment. That was a nice touch. Yeah, let's get to some action right here. So this looks to be more of a straightforward shooter that can be played in either first person or third person. I don't think there's going to be a VATS-like system like what you have in the Fallout games. I think they're trying to avoid this being like Fallout as much as possible. They're really trying to make Starfield its own thing, which makes sense because this game has been in development for a long time. I think well over a decade. So, I don't want to play Fallout in space. I want to play Starfield. The shooting looks like it has an arcade feel to it, which isn't really that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's just the style that they chose to go with. I think it works from what I'm seeing. Got some hacking mini games. Looks like. It's interesting. Oh, so you have like a jetpack type of thing on your back? Huh. New Atlantis.
Welcome to Constellation. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I'm looking at the characters and whatnot. This looks a lot better than the typical Bethesda game. I'm actually not really a fan of Bethesda RPGs. I played a few hours of Fallout 4, and I liked Fallout 4. I liked what I played of it, but I basically ran into a brick wall, and I just put it down and never went back to it. I lost interest in it. This looks like something that I would stick with and that I would play, several dozen hours well after I've already completed like the main story. And the presentation has a lot to do with that. This looks like more of a modern game as far as the graphical presentation goes.
We're all here because we're committed to the biggest question of all. What's out there? These artifacts could be everything we've been looking for. As to what they are, what they're building. You'll be part of solving that puzzle now.
So, you found something?
The new guy found it.
You dug up the artifact, right?
Another thing that I'm really liking here a lot as a science fiction fan is the actual art style. So they're not trying to make this like some kind of fantasy science fiction thing. So it's not like a Star Wars or a Star Trek type of thing where like even with the weapons, from what they showed with the weapons, they're just using standard weaponry. They're not using like futuristic guns that shoot, that fire lasers and what have you. They may have weapons like that in the game. I don't know, but judging from what they're showing here, that's not what they're going for. They're going for more of a realistic tone with the art direction. That includes like the way the characters look as far as their attire, the spaceships and what have you. It looks a lot more grounded than your typical science fiction game. So I really like that element of it.
I bet you saw it. The visions?
The artifact you found appears to be one of many, scattered across the galaxy. If we can find more, we can unlock their secrets.
Yeah, it looks, I guess the best way to put it is less Star Wars or Star Trek and more Blade Runner. It has more of a Blade Runner feel to it.
Beautiful, isn't it? The man who sold me this told me that it spoke to him.
Of course, the settled systems is full of groups with other priorities.
That's the Crimson Fleet!
Everybody get ready!
The fleet doesn't follow the rules. Agree to work for UCC Step. Together, we take down these cutthroat pirates.
We're not just here to shoot the bad guys. We're peacekeepers. We protect the people of the Free Star Collective. When you sign up with the Crimson Fleet, no one quits. The only way out is death.
The path ahead may be dangerous, but we are not stopping.
Most Dusties don't even make it this far.
Because whatever lies at the end of this road will change humanity forever.
So there's elements of Mass Effect in there that I feel, as far as like the story goes, from just judging from what they're showing off with this trailer. Some very small hints of Mass Effect. There's some hints of No Man's Sky in this as well. They said that the game will have like 1,000 different planets that you can explore. I'd imagine those are procedurally generated. I believe that's the term. Now, No Man's Sky, when it originally came out, that was one of the biggest problems with that game, was the fact that all the planets were basically indistinguishable, and they were all basically the same thing. And that's because the technology at the time wasn't there for what they were trying to achieve. The game was too ambitious for its own good. Now, I'm not sure Bethesda is going to run into that same issue in 2023. Only time will tell when the game actually releases, but judging from what they're showing off here, I'm liking what I see. Just saying.
It's our most flexible yet. You can customize all the elements of how you look.
So you can customize the hell out of your character, but they also revealed that your character is silent. The protagonist doesn't say anything. He or she doesn't speak throughout the entire game. So this is less Final Fantasy RPG and more like Persona. Because in Persona 5, like, your protagonist, or the protagonist in that game, didn't... you played a character, but the character didn't speak. You chose the dialogue options, and that was it. So that's what they're going for with this. Not everyone is going to like that, but it can work. That's not necessarily a bad decision. That's just a design choice that they made. Gonna have to see how it actually plays out in the game itself.
You'll pick a background that gives you 3 starting skills.
Says here you spent some time as a diplomat. Having a way with words might prove useful.
There are optional traits, and these come with unique advantages and disadvantages.
Okay, so they got like personality traits right here. You have extrovert, introvert, street rat, raised universal, United Colonies native. So yeah, this is definitely an RPG. Like a hardcore RPG.
In how your character plays and develops. The skill system combines the best from our previous games, and you can unlock new skills as you level up, and then you rank those skills up by using them and completing challenges. And there's deep crafting systems, from running research projects with resources you find, to crafting weapon mods needed to survive.
Okay, so that's what you can use the resources for that the player was gathering at the start of the video.
And you can build your own outposts. These act as a home away from home.
So the build a base feature that they introduced in Fallout 4, which actually was one of my favorite aspects of Fallout 4, was the base building mechanic. They're bringing that back here. It looks like it's going to be a lot more expanded.
Survival and resource generation. can choose where and how to build each one, and you can hire characters you meet to keep it up and running. But that's not all. You can even build your own spaceships. You can choose crew members.
Yeah, I can't think of a game that's done that. A science fiction game where you can make your own, build your own spaceship, and then manage your own crew. That's different. That seems to be new. If there is a game that has done something similar to that, I'm not aware of it. The way that they're presenting it here, it's definitely selling me on the concept. You can't even do that with the Mass Effect games.
And yes, you can completely customize the look and layout.
Oh shit.
There's loads of different modules, ship manufacturers, and more. I have to say, it's so cool. We just absolutely love this.
Thrusters boosted.
Yeah, that's nice right there. Yeah, you can fly in space, first person, third person. I know they got dogfighting in here too. Yep, there's the dogfighting. It looks like the spacecrafts, you know, as you're flying them, they have weight to them. So that's something that's different from other like space dogfighting games, like some of the recent Star Wars games from EA. Those had weight, but this looks like it's a lot more grounded by comparison. Now, I believe this game is single player only, so there's no multiplayer until they reveal otherwise. I'd imagine if there is no multiplayer at this point in time, that eventually they will add some kind of multiplayer mode. But I think it's a good thing that it's just single player only at the moment, so they can focus on making a great single player experience first, and then if they want to add multiplayer down the line, then you know they're more than welcome to do so.
It's all the planets in the system. From barren but resource-heavy ice balls to Goldilocks planets with life. And
So the only thing about that, about what he just said, so apparently you can explore all of the planets in any given system, but you're not just locked into one specific area, like you can explore the entire planet. The only thing that concerns me about that is, you know, there is such a thing that exists known as too much content. Too much content can actually hurt a game, especially an RPG game such as this. If you can explore the whole planet, some may see that as a good thing, but is it absolutely necessary for the player to have access to the entire planet? Because judging from the last Mass Effect game that was released, Mass Effect Andromeda, there was, I believe, 5 planets that you could explore, and they were big, they were vast, but they were also boring as hell. they were boring as shit, and the effect wore off pretty quickly. So there would have to be enough content on each of these planets in order for the experience to remain fresh. And so, you know, that's a tremendous amount of work for any company. So I'm not sure if Bethesda can actually pull that off, but I'm interested to see them try.
Not just this system, but over 100 systems. Over 1,000 planets, all open for you to explore. We can't wait to see what you find.
Yeah, so over 100, he said 100 systems, 1,000 planets. I don't know, it just seems like it's a bit too much. I'm not sure if that's really necessary. But again, I'm interested to see how that's going to turn out. So they're showing you all of these diverse locations and what have you, but that's my concern. After they run out of, you know, the typical environments that you typically see, your desert planet or your ice ball planet or your beach front, you know, after they run out of the typical biomes and what have you, you know, this game is going to have to really get creative to keep players invested. And all that's going to be based on, you know, what the player is actually doing on each individual planet. Because if all you're doing is just hunting for resources, then that's not going to be good enough. That's going to get stale very quickly. So I hope they have, you know, they found a better way to keep the player invested. So, from the looks of it, this game looks like it's going to be the closest, the most authentic Star Trek experience that any video game has to offer. I mean, you get to build your own spaceship, you get to build your own crew, you have over 100 different systems, 1,000 different planets to explore. You have resource management, crafting. You can play in first person, third person. You have an assortment of different weapons that you can use. I'd imagine there's going to be different upgrades as far as like your attire and what you can wear, both in combat and outside of combat. So it looks like I said, the most authentic Star Trek experience that you can have, even though it doesn't really look like Star Trek, like aesthetically. I like what they've shown. I'm really looking forward to this game. Hopefully it does live up to the hype and it doesn't become like a cyberpunk situation. Hopefully, you know, Bethesda doesn't make that mistake. Which is actually the same mistake they made with Fallout 76, although that was a multiplayer game. This is a single player game, so I think it'll live up to expectation. It's just a matter of, you know, when the game is actually going to come out. Now, personally, I will be playing this on PC, and I'll probably do a retrospective on it. Obviously, I'm not going to explore 100 different systems and whatnot just for one video. That's not going to happen. But I'll probably, you know, just play through the story and complete the story and upload my thoughts on it after the fact. So that's the way that I'll tackle this game. But it is officially on the list for me to cover.